The seaport is partially belonging by China's country-owned China Merchants Seaport Assets, that maintains a 23.5% share in the seaport's parental business, Seaport de Djibouti SA. It is as well arranged once adjoining to China's just across the sea war basis, on the western banking of the Bay of Aden and the southern entry to the Red Ocean, shut to the Suez Channel. The Djibouti by the government relies hard on invest equity of China, and the two countries support shut tactful bonds. On Tuesday, the next of the seaport-dominated discussions for a listening of the U.S. Building Gunman Services Board, in one elder U.S. general precautionary how the U.S. war could person considerable ensuing consequences should China get monitoring of the seaport. See General Thomas Waldhauser, the US top war captain in Africa, told China monitoring of the seaport could outcome in restrictions on its potential cut-off accessing to a key U.S. replenishment path and marine refill halt. If the China took above how seaport, later the ensuing consequences could be considerable, told Waldhauser. While we say on impact and accessing, the is a classical sample in high to China, of how we've got to begin and how we've got to be cautious as we go striker. Quotation Chan Zhongping, a war specialist, the paper reasoned how if a China business were to profit the law to work the seaport, it would be relying on industry and economical interests among China and Djibouti, and it has no intent at all to do anxiety for the U.S. war. China financing by the government of Djibouti, led by CEO Ismail Omar Guelleh, has so far welcomed China's part in the nation's economics, supporting how since Djibouti is source poor, its growth is dependent on maximize its position, and growing invest in seaport infrastructure facilities. In supplement to putting in the DCT, China country firms include as well financed and constructed Ethiopia-Djibouti water supply pipeline and the Ethiopia-Djibouti rail. In the listening Tuesday, Waldhauser acknowledged the joint state would never outspend the China in Djibouti, indicating out how as main infrastructure facilities projects, Beijing has as well constructed trading malls and stadiums. The banking, that is completely country-owned and is by the straight management of the China's country justice, has a credentials of the China by the government to assist China companies safe contracts and purchase holdings overseas, says the paper. Address such obligation concerns at a click meeting near Tillerson, Djibouti's overseas secretary, Mohammed Ali Yusuf, told the nation's obligation to China is so far obedient. Allow me at first emphasize the reality how no nation can evolve himself out of possessing a powerful infrastructure facilities, told Yusuf, or China is, of how prospect, a really nice affiliate. The question of the Durali canister terminus was not grown for the click meeting. War achieved by China CEO Xi Jinping, China's marine achieve has grown up significantly, expansion far for its instant shoreline in areas not previous deliberate during its field of impact. So you be dependent on their invest and their generosity, and thou re less than potential to be crucial of them and thou re more than potential to contain their interests strategically. In a individual listening environment up the U.S. Building Appropriations Board, U.S. Navy Secretariat Richard Spencer charged Beijing of weaponizing equity. Proverb China is manufacturing loans, not grants or assistance, to financial the infrastructure facilities projects. If the borrower fails to do payments, same property proprietor comes and reclaims it and says these are now its, told Spencer, referring China's Hambantota seaport transactions in Sri Lanka. They're making how about the ball? So their outdoor checkbook keeps me up at overnight. Dark blue helmet deployments. China's infrastructure facilities and growth projects are just a portion of a more extensive Africa policy, how includes both of war and maintenance of peace beginnings. Onto a paper by the Europe Justice on Overseas Relations, ECFR, collaboration in Africa on world and safety is now an obvious portion of Beijing's overseas politics. In 2015, China CEO Xi Jinping devoted 8,000 military to the UN maintenance of peace backup strength, 1/5 of the 40,000 full military devoted by 50 nations. China as well incorporated $100 millionth to the African Association backup strength and $1 trillion to set the UN World and Growth Confidence Foundation. Talk at the listening near Spencer, Environment. USC Housing Superintendent General Robert Neller told CEO XI's policy was to gain out of fight. Same China are game the length play. Anywhere I go, they're down there, told Neller. More than rather than 2,500 China fight-ready soldiers and police force commanders are now developed in dark blue helmet missions through the African mainland, in the greatest deployments in southward Sudan, 1,051, Liberia, 666, and Mali, 402, on to the ECFR. In supplement, Africa is now household to an alleged 1 millionth China citizens, in lot involved in infrastructure facilities projects supported by the government. China's participation in African safety is a food of a broad conversion of China's domestic defense politics. It is take on a worldview, and comprising new concepts such as the protect of across the sea interests and outdoor seas protect, says the ECFR paper. If Djibouti is readily to seize a seaport terminus operational by a legislative 30-year treaty, which is to halt Djibouti, CEO Gwela of reneging on the 20-year rent the U.S. signed in 2014 for Camping Les Monniers, requested Byrne, who repeated his issue for Tuesday's board listening.